factoring day 2 with a special little song because I friggin' love factoring. And today is going to be just a ball of fun. We're going to continue factoring, and if you get a little excited and you need to dance, it's fine with me. Just go for it. But today we're going to be factoring, and we're going to be doing it with 2 different signs. Yesterday was kind of like your training wheels because you had either both signs were positive or both signs were negative. But today you're going to have 2 different signs. So that's going to be a little added challenge for day 2. So what I want you guys to do is try these two factoring those binomials by doing FOIL. And after you do that, check your answers. How'd you do, guys? Check your answers. Make sure you combine like terms at the end. Remember binomial Bob? Hopefully you did okay. I'm just sitting here dancing, you know, my favorite tune. So today is going to be really important that you remember those positives and negatives, okay? So for this one, they were very similar. Look at the only difference was this +2 and -2. So in this problem, our bigger number was negative, so that meant that our middle term was negative. Over here, our bigger term was positive, so that made our middle term positive. So that's going to help you, if you can remember that, that's going to help you with your factoring today, okay? So let's get down to business here. What's different is that one of your signs is going to have to be positive and one's going to be negative, okay? This is kind of a review from yesterday. But you've got to find those magic numbers. And remember, you're going to look at that last term. It's going to be the product. So what can you multiply together to get those 2 terms? And then what can you add together to get those 2 terms? So let's go ahead and practice and find those magic numbers for these terms. So this is a review from yesterday, these 2. We want to find 2 factors that will multiply to be 12 and add, remember that's what product means, and add to be 7. So if I list my factors of 12, in order to get to 12, I could do 1 times 12, I could do 2 times 6, and I could do 3 times 4. So if I look at those and I want to decide what can I add together to get 7, the magic numbers would be, do you see it? Hopefully you do. 3 and 4 are going to be our magic numbers. Now that's a review from yesterday. Those are both positive, nothing too tricky about that. Just pretty straightforward. Then we move into an example like this. We're going to do the same process, but we're going to look for our factors that will multiply together to give us 30. So I'm going to start with 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and then 5 and 6. So now I'm going to look and see which of those can I add together to get -13. Right now, all of my numbers are positive. So I can't get to -13 that way. However, if I want to multiply to be a positive and add to be a negative, one way I could do that is by making both of the numbers negative. So if I made every single term negative, let's see what happens. So will any of these add to be -13? If I look down my list, yes, -3 plus a -10 would give me -13. Now let's double check. Will a negative times a negative give me a positive? Yeah, it will. So by making both of the terms negative, I will add to be negative and multiply to be positive. So you kind of have to think about your sign rules for some of these, but my magic number is going to be -3 and -10. Okay, let's look at this one. I'm going to do it on the other side because I ran out of room here. So I want it to multiply to be a -16. So in order to multiply to be -16, let's list my factors. I know that one of the numbers has to be negative, but let's just list our factors first. So 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and that's it, okay? So it has to be a negative, and look what I want it to add up to be. This is where you have to do some thinking. It has to add to be positive. So if you look back at our examples here, if I want it to add together to be a positive number, that means my bigger number should be positive. So I'm going to keep the bigger number positive and the smaller numbers negative. So I'm going to make these two numbers negative. So if I multiply those together, I will still get my negative, but if I add them now, I should get a positive 6. So which one will give me a positive 6? This one won't. Negative 2 plus 8 would give me a positive 6. Okay? So my magic number is going to be negative 2 and positive 8. All right, let's look for the magic numbers here. So I have negative 30. I want it to multiply to be negative 30, so I'm going to list my factors. 1 and 30. Oh, same one over there. 2 and 15. 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So this time I want it to add to be a negative, so that if I look at my examples up here, if I want it to add to be negative, my bigger number needs to be negative. So I'm going to make all of my larger numbers negative and see which one of those will add to be negative 13. So this is what I picked up here, but those aren't the magic numbers for this problem, because look at this has to be negative this time. So in order to add to be negative 13, I'm going to have to go with positive 2 and negative 15. 2 plus a negative 15 will give me negative 13. Okay? So that's a little glimpse at our magic numbers here. Let's look at our rules. When your product is negative, the factors have different signs. So whenever you have two negatives, that's what these were here. The top two were a review from yesterday. These two problems, when your product is negative, the factors are going to have different signs. That's the new part for today. Okay? One's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. It's your job to figure out which one is which. Okay? The larger factor gets the same sign as the sum. So let's think about that. So the larger factor, so in this problem here, so 8 is going to be the same sign as the sum. Did these have the same sign? Yep, they're both positive. Okay, let's look at this one. The larger factor is going to have the same sign, so negative, as the sum. It did. Okay, so if you use this little trick, if you're having trouble deciding which number is going to be positive and which one's going to be negative, you can use that little trick. The larger factor is going to have the same sign as the sum. Okay? All right, so let's try some in real time. Look here, okay? So these are the quadratic equations you're going to, or trinomials you're going to have to factor out. So if we have x squared plus 2x minus 15, remember we're going to look for those magic numbers. And we know that we need two numbers whose product, remember this is the product we're looking for. So our product needs to be negative 15, and it needs to add to be 2. So let's look for those magic numbers. I'm going to list my factors of 15. So my factors of 15 are going to be 1 and 15, and then 3 and 5, and that's it. Okay? But look at my product needs to be negative. Okay? So I'm going to do the same sign. The larger number is going to have the same sign as the sum. So that means my larger number has to be positive. You see that? So I'm going to make all of my smaller factors negative and see which one will add to give me 2. So the only two factors that will give me a positive 2 would be negative 3 and positive 5. So those are my magic numbers, negative 3 and positive 5. So if I factor this out, we're going to have x and x minus 3 plus 5. Okay? Let's look at this second example. We need two numbers whose product is negative 20. So multiply to be negative 20. And add to be negative 8. Okay? So I'm going to have two different signs since my product is negative. So I'm going to list out my factors of 20. So 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. So now I need one of the factors to be negative because my product is negative. And the bigger number is going to have the same sign as the sum. So that means all of my bigger numbers need to be negative. So now we're going to look and see which one of these will add to give me negative 8. And that would be this middle one. 2 plus negative 10 will give you a negative 8. So I'm going to factor it out, two binomials here. So x plus 2 and x minus 10. Alrighty? Okay, that's your second day of factoring. Hope you had fun. I know I did. So go ahead and try these last three. This will give you a good idea whether or not you're grasping this concept before you completely practice on your own. So try example 3, 4, and 5. Call me over when you think you have those magic numbers. Good luck, guys.